Welcome to Plot Twist, your place for quick summaries of movies with jaw-dropping twists. Let's dive in. Our movie begins with a man named Oleg, who went by boat to a Russian coast to meet a smuggler named Valera, who wanted to transport some items to the shore. Oleg arrived at Valera's boat, and as soon as Valera saw him, he told him he wanted to transport a ton of caviar to the shore. Oleg was happy about this deal, but the boat owner told him it was impossible to carry the caviar, as the boat couldn't handle more than 600 kilos. Oleg thought they could figure it out, but the boat owner insisted that the boat would sink if they added more weight. In the end, Oleg told Valera to unload the usual cargo and forget about the caviar. He stayed on the boat and told him he wanted to call his girlfriend, but in reality, he hid and called Vera on the phone, agreeing with her on the caviar deal behind the boat owner's back. After the call, he said, "Didn't you just say the caviar wouldn't work?" But he replied, "I agree to carry it, but only if you pay for it." The boat owner was confused because the boat was slowly sinking. When Oleg saw this, he started to get scared. Before the boat completely sank, the boat owner jumped off. In the end, both of them jumped off the boat and swam to the shore. After reaching the shore, the boat owner hit Oleg and blamed him for sinking the boat. Oleg couldn't respond. The boat owner told him he had to compensate for the lost boat. Oleg had no choice but to give the boat owner his new car and take his old, worn-out car instead. When he reached the bank, Oleg asked if he could take another loan. But Sveta told him no because he hadn't paid off his previous loan yet. She asked him why he needed the money, but Oleg refused to say what had happened. As they left the bank, he complained that he was going to be humiliated in front of her family. He stopped at the new car, which had now become old and rusty. Sveta was shocked and asked him, "What's with this car? What happened to the car you bought?" He told her not to worry, that it was just temporary. While driving, he told her he didn't want to be embarrassed in front of her father, Boris. But she said there was no escape. In the end, he decided to go with Sveta to her family's house. On the way, she told him to be kind to her father. He replied, "I hope he doesn't start singing his weird song." She responded, "Just try to be understanding. My father has been confined to the house for 5 years and is wanted by the authorities." When they arrived at the house, they found the whole family in the bathroom, fixing the faucet. Oleg tried to help. Boris mistakenly called him by the name of their daughter's ex-boyfriend. Sveta told them, "This is Oleg, my boyfriend. We've been together for a long time." Boris's other daughter, Rita, also said they had been living together in the city for years. After fixing the faucet, Oleg told Boris he needed to talk to him. Boris replied, "All right, during dinner." A while later, Oleg sat at the table, and Boris started singing his weird song. Oleg was annoyed by the song and tried to get Boris's attention to explain his plan, but Boris was distracted by his guitar. Oleg got frustrated and left the room. He saw Boris's son, Twik, playing with the dogs. He liked him and said, "You seem good at raising dogs." Twik asked him, "Do you know anyone in the army?" Oleg replied, "Why are you asking?" Twik said he was trying to join the army, but kept getting rejected because of his asthma. Oleg told him, "People complain about the army," but Twik didn't care. He saw the army as a way to escape this strange house. They went back inside for dinner. Oleg and Sveta asked Boris to mortgage the house for a loan. Boris didn't like the idea and understood that they wanted to sell the house and take it away from him. Sveta and Oleg assured him that no one would touch the house and that it was just a guarantee. Rita said, "It's not a problem to sell the house and use the money to buy 2 new apartments, one for me and one for Sasha." Twik objected, saying he deserved an apartment too. Boris ignored their argument and asked Sveta's grandfather for Oleg's passport. Oleg gave it to him, confused. Then Oleg told Boris that the plan would make money for everyone. But Boris wasn't enthusiastic and thought Oleg would trick him and take his house. Suddenly, a meteorite fell on the spot where the grandfather was sitting. Everyone ran outside, confused about what was happening. When they realized the grandfather was trapped in the basement, they went back to rescue him. After getting him out, Boris said they needed to dig and remove the meteorite. Oleg agreed to do it. At first, Boris's children helped him, but then they all went to sleep, leaving him alone. After a while, Oleg finished digging and moved the meteorite to the living room. He heard Sveta's grandfather calling him. He went to him, and the grandfather told him, and Zrenya and the grandfather told him, "I'm dying." Oleg said, "Okay, let's call an ambulance." The grandfather refused, saying he was ready to die. Oleg tried to convince him, but the man actually died. Oleg called out to Sveta and found her sleeping. He sat beside her and fell asleep. When Twik woke him up, Sveta was gone. He asked where she was, and Twik said, "Come see something." They went downstairs and found everyone watching Sasha bend iron with her hands. Oleg was shocked. Boris kept giving Sasha more iron to test her strength. Oleg ran upstairs to look for Sveta but couldn't find her. He heard her voice saying, "Close the door." He couldn't see her and asked, "Where are you?" She replied, "Stop joking. I'm here in the room." Oleg opened the door and heard Boris calling him from downstairs. He went down and found them trying to open Rita's room, where she had locked herself in. Boris broke the door, and they found her floating in the air. Oleg was shocked and helped Boris hold her down so she wouldn't fly away. Suddenly, Sveta appeared, but everyone could only see her legs. They all screamed, and Sveta was confused. At the same moment, Oleg noticed Sveta's grandfather alive again in the living room and got scared. He let go of Rita, who flew out of the house. A while later, Sveta's face reappeared, and the grandfather witnessed this before fainting. After some time, Boris and his family sat, upset about what was happening. Rita suggested that the meteorite might be the reason for their strange powers. Sveta's legs disappeared again, and she said they should notify the authorities. But Boris said it was useless. Sveta insisted on calling for an ambulance. While she was outside, her grandfather died again. Rita fell while flying. When Sveta returned, she asked why no one was moving. At that moment, her grandfather came back to life again, and Rita and Sasha regained their powers. Oleg realized that their powers only worked when they were together. While eating, Rita said she wanted to use her powers to perform in a circus. Twick told her she should save the local dogs instead. Rita thought the circus was a better idea. Twick got annoyed and refused to eat. While outside, he heard the dogs talking. He got excited and ran to tell everyone that he could now understand the dogs. That's when Oleg started to think. He told him, "Okay, let's wait and talk about the plan." But Boris said, "Let's talk while we're fishing." At the river, Boris was trying to move himself to the middle of the water. Oleg said to him, "I want all of you to help me rob the bank. The plan is simple. We park the car near the bank, let Sveta disappear, and she'll steal the money." But Sveta was scared, so Oleg assured her that the plan was safe because no one would see her. He also told them the profits would be huge. The group got excited, but Boris said, "No, I don't want trouble." Oleg couldn't understand why Boris was refusing. Boris left and walked away a bit, while Oleg kept trying to convince him that this was an opportunity to use their powers before everyone goes their separate ways in the future. Boris wasn't interested. He told Sveta, "Let's leave." As they were walking, Oleg continued to persuade her about his plan. Suddenly, 2 cars blocked the road, and Valera and his men appeared. Valera said, "I told you, let's talk." In the car, Valera told him, "You owe me a lot of money." Oleg replied, "I'll pay you back within a month." Valera responded, "No, 1 week." Oleg got out of the car angrily and went back to Sveta to tell her what happened. She then agreed to rob the bank. Later, Sveta brought Boris to see a new house they could buy with the bank's money. Boris liked the house but said, "I don't intend to get involved in trouble." Sveta started crying and said, "This is the first time I've asked for your help and you're refusing." Boris was moved and agreed to the robbery plan. They returned home, and Boris told everyone that he had agreed with Oleg on the robbery. Everyone was happy, and Oleg told them the operation would be very easy. At night, Oleg was worried because he didn't have any powers. He tried to move a glass with his eyes and found it moving. He called Sveta, saying, "Come see," but it turned out that she was the one lifting the glass while hiding. The next morning during breakfast, Sveta's grandfather told Oleg, "I won't participate in the robbery unless you promise to cremate my body when I die." Oleg was confused about what the old man wanted. Rita also said she had a condition. She wanted to fly in front of an audience. Twick said he wanted his lost dog found. Oleg got frustrated and said, "Don't you see the point? This is about $3 million. But no one cared about what he said. Boris told him, "If you want to be part of the family, you have to fulfill everyone's requests." Oleg agreed and wrote down their demands on a piece of paper. Then they went with Rita to the theater, where she flew in front of the circus manager. The man was amazed and agreed to hire her. That night, while they were sleeping, Oleg discovered he had a strange power. He could produce water from his finger. He felt embarrassed, but Sveta saw him and said, "It's okay, use it to water the plants." So he went to water the plants, thinking it would save water in the long run. While outside, he saw Twick talking to his dog. The next day, Oleg took Sveta and Sasha to the bank to finalize the plan. Sasha told Oleg, "Aren't you going to fulfill my request and take me to an expensive restaurant?" He replied, "Of course." When they returned home, they found Twick had shaved his head. They asked him why, and he said, "I got accepted into the army and am leaving tomorrow." Oleg was shocked and tried to convince him not to leave, saying they needed him for the robbery, but Twick wasn't interested. Afterward, Oleg went to the recruitment office and bribed an officer to reject Twick, claiming there was a mistake. When he returned home, he found Twick still at the house. Sveta told him they had just called to inform him he wasn't accepted. Oleg told Twick, "Don't worry, after the robbery, I'll talk to people in the army to get you accepted." Twick was happy, hugged Oleg, and said, "You're the only one who understands me." Sasha told Oleg she found a suitable restaurant, and he agreed but said they needed to fulfill her grandfather's request first. They went to a cremation service to pay for the grandfather's cremation in case he died. The staff there told them to attach a note to his clothes so the police would know to send the body for cremation immediately if he passed away. The grandfather attached the note and left. Afterward, Oleg took Sasha to the fancy restaurant as promised. While they were ordering, Oleg noticed Boris and the rest of the family hiding outside the restaurant, watching them. He went out and asked, "What are you doing here?" Boris replied, "Sasha wanted to sit with you at the restaurant, and we're here but staying invisible." Oleg was shocked. When he went back inside, he saw Valera and his men at the restaurant. Oleg tried to hide his face, but Valera recognized him and started taunting him, saying the repayment deadline was near. Sasha got upset with Valera's behavior and used her powers to fight them. Oleg tried to stop her, but she ignored him. Valera and his men were beaten up. Oleg and Sasha left with the rest of the family. The next morning, they went to the bank. Oleg told Boris to drive and park the car in a nearby spot. Sveta entered the bank. Suddenly, a police officer came and told Boris to move the car. Twix said, "Don't move, or Sveta will become visible." Boris refused, but the police car pushed their car away from the bank. Twix called Oleg and said, "We're far from the bank." Oleg got nervous, but Boris and the group quickly returned to the bank before Oleg and Sveta came out. After Sveta stole the money, they left the bank. The police approached them, and Boris thought they were coming to arrest him, so he disappeared. The police didn't do anything to Oleg and the group and left them. It turned out Boris had reappeared inside a police car, surprising the officers. After some time, Oleg and the group were released on bail and returned home. Boris said, "I wasn't wanted or anything. It was just a misunderstanding." Oleg got upset and told them, "No more jokes or mistakes." Rita said she had a performance she needed to attend. Boris yelled at her, but Oleg said, "Fine, we'll go." At the theater, Rita got scared of the audience and flew away. Valera and his men found Oleg there and beat him up in front of everyone as revenge for what happened at the restaurant. That night, they let him go. Oleg returned home silently. Sveta asked him, "Are you upset with us?" He replied, "Yes," insulted them, and said they were selfish and only cared about their interests. He declared he would handle the matter alone without them and left. Boris didn't like how Oleg insulted them. He took Oleg and went back to the bank at night. Oleg asked, "Why did you bring me here again?" Boris replied, "We're going in to get the money." The family joined them, wearing masks. They broke a part of the wall instead of using the door and entered the bank. Sasha carried the safe, and they went outside, loading the money into the car. The police arrived, and Twix sent his dog to attack them. After taking the money, they threw some of it to the people around the bank. The crowd rushed to collect the money, and the police mistook them for the robbers and arrested them. Boris and his family escaped with the money, happy. They stopped by the sea to celebrate. The grandfather told them, "Go ahead, I'm ready to die." He drove off in the car, and they left him. As he was falling and about to die, Rita saw him and told Boris to stop the car. They went back to check on him and found him still alive. He asked, "Why did you come back?" Rita said, "I couldn't leave you." Boris suggested they return home to live together. While they were retrieving the grandfather's body from the morgue, they realized they were implicated in the robbery and would face trial. Oleg got upset, left the plane, and returned to the morgue. The staff there told him, "I'll give you the body for $1 million. Oleg replied, "You're trafficking in corpses," and refused. And then in court, Kolej entered speaking Arabic and brought Sabita's grandmother. And with that, the strength returned to the family. He woke up again and started beating those in the court, and the family used their power. They got out of prison, beat up the officer and the judge, and Boris was happy with Kolej. As they were leaving, the police surrounded them. Rita flew up, and the police got scattered. Kolej and the family escaped in another police car, and Rita caught up with them. They toyed with the police on the road until they got rid of them. After escaping the police, they went to Valera to help them escape to Thailand in a container on a ship. Valera agreed and told them it would take 20 days to arrive. They entered the container and locked themselves inside. Inside, they wondered how they would survive 20 days in this container. And this is the end of our movie today. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a like and subscribe to see our upcoming summaries.